This amazing thing happened when I was 21. Surprisingly, I can remember every detail of it very clearly, even though I normally have trouble remembering things. A lot of the time, I forget what I ate or what I did yesterday. Still, I feel like God gave me the strength to remember everything that happened that day. Everything I saw, everyone I talked to, and every word that was said. It's like my memory was honed just so I could remember this event in great detail. My dad won a sales contest, which was the start of everything. His prize was 2 bikes, which we used a lot, especially on the weekends. I was hurt when I hit a tree one weekend. The blow hurt the tendons in my right hand, so I had to have surgery. When I was 21, this was my first time having surgery, being in a hospital, or being under anesthesia. My heart stopped beating on the day of the surgery because of a bad reaction to the anesthesia. It felt like I was dead for 7 minutes, and that's when I had a near-death experience. This happened in 1987, a year when not many people talked about having a near-death experience. It's interesting that we all have spirit guides. Alan, my spirit guide, introduced himself to me during this event. "I'm your spirit guide," he said. Alan showed me different parts of the other side. Then he brought me back to tell him what I had seen, both inside and outside of these worlds. All of that took only 7 minutes, but it felt like hours. To help people understand what a near-death experience, NDE, is, it helps to list the most common parts. Most of the time, people who have an NDE die in an accident or during treatment, and then wake up floating above their bodies. The crash or the medical team is below them. Then they come to a tunnel with a bright light at the end of it. As they go through this tunnel, a friend or family member may stop them and say, "It's not your time yet. You should go back and finish your work." In fact, that's what I heard. I wasn't free. I had other things to do. I had never been past the light at the end of the tunnel before this event. I couldn't believe I was on the other side of that light, where my journey really started. It really shocked me. When I woke up in the hospital, after the anesthesia wore off and my heart started beating again, I saw the most beautiful building I had ever seen. An endless stretch of white concrete that looked like it went on for kilometers. The building on my right was lined with huge white columns that were about 20 or 30 feet high and spaced about 6 feet apart. As far as the eye could see, there were beautiful marble tables with seats on either side of them. Each table had 2 people sitting at it. It was impossible to look away from the caves to my left. They were very dark, like solid marble, and had sharp 90-degree angles that looked like doors with a lot of carving on them. It looked like you could look into the universe and see that they went on forever. They talked to me in my left ear and told me what I was seeing right then and there. He told me I was in the orientation center, which is where people go right after going through the white light. The people sitting at the tables were orientation counselors whose job it was to help arrivals remember where they came from. My guide says that most of us forget where we came from on purpose. There must be a cosmic plan for us to forget where we came from and why we're here, to learn and live. As my guide went on, I looked up and saw a man coming out of one of the holes. He looked like he was in pain because he was holding his chest and was probably in his 80s or 90s. In his last life, he had died of a heart attack, my guide told me. A woman at the table got up when he got there. He was led back to the table by her hands, where she sat across from him. My guide told me that she was helping him remember his past and understand that his time on Earth was over, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. It was her job to help him find his way back to his real home. Everything about the scene was amazing. I listened to my guide describe what was going on as I watched it all happen. I didn't realize I had died until the end of this event. It was all very strange and new. My guide told me to pay close attention to this man. The strangest thing was seeing him change from an old guy into a man in his late 20s or early 30s. My guide said that everyone on the other side looks young, but he didn't say why. It made me wonder if it was because Jesus died when he was 30 or if that's just how things work in the world to come. It looks like no one gets older on the other side. They only get older when they start a new life. We go through this circle of getting older and learning new things while we're on Earth, but in the spirit world, we are always young. Seeing the man change was one of the most interesting things about the orientation center. When the woman was done leading him, he went back to being young and remembered where he came from. It turns out that Earth is not our real home. We're here to learn, to grow, and to have fun. As he went down 3 flights of stairs into a lovely garden, I was amazed by how lush and well kept everything looked. With its beautiful grass, bright trees, flowers, and lots of other plants, it looked like an English garden. As he got to the bottom, I saw that there were hundreds of people waiting for him. The Union is where we meet up with our parents, friends, family, and people we knew before we came to Earth. What's happening is important because life on Earth is hard and going home is a big deal. The party was very emotional, and everyone cheered and congratulated him on finishing his life. It made me think of the love and support that are waiting for us when we get back to our true home. Regarding my time with the introduction counselors, I found it interesting how they knew who was coming. Even though there were no computers, papers, or notes that could be seen on the tables, they seemed to know when each person came in. I still don't understand how they know when someone has gone through and is going back through the tunnels. I don't understand it, but it's clear that there's a system that works without any obvious ways to see it. Crossing over, going through the tunnel, getting to the orientation center, and having the reunion were just the beginning of my close call with death. Then my guide took me to a new place, a huge rectangle building that was truly amazing in its size. The buildings were huge, much bigger than anything on Earth. I found an online search a few years ago that led me to the Temple of Artemis in Turkey. It reminded me of the Orientation Center. People who are interested might look it up on Google to get a sense of what it looked like. The next spot my guide showed me had columns around it and a path that went into a huge rectangular room. It looked like a movie theater on the inside, with screens set up in a wide circle above. This was the life review area, my guide told me. In this place, souls look back on their lives to see if they learned from their mistakes and reached their goals. The screens started to show different parts of my life, starting with when I was a baby and going through different steps like toddlerhood and kindergarten. My guide told me that this life review happens to everyone after they die. You have to go through this process where you look at your growth and accomplishments. The most interesting thing about the life review was being able to feel how you were interacting with other people. You remember the good times when you connected with someone, but you also remember the times when you might have hurt them, even if you didn't mean to. You feel their pain and the way they feel. This process helps you understand and feel how your actions affected other people, which makes you more loving and caring. It's an important part of learning and growing because it helps you see how your acts affect other people.